a dance floor, but then there were all these, you know, tiered seats. And Prince comes out, of course, in a Burberry beige trench coat, bikini underpants, garter belts and hose, and 6-inch high heels and nothing else. And he starts doing the songs from Controversy before it was released.
Yeah, great album.
And we were just, as artists, we were blown away. We were jealous. It was amazing. And he was scaring everybody, of course. But we were just listening to what he was doing, and it was so good, right? It was just so good.
That's fascinating.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's fascinating because I don't think it's obvious to people that DEVO would be inspired and influenced by Prince.
No, I realize that. But Bob Mothersbaugh and I, in particular, were really big fans of historical R&B that was coming out of Detroit in the mid-60s through early 70s. Because back in Ohio, one of the main AM stations that came through was out of Detroit. And we heard all that stuff early when most of the country wasn't. And so, you know, we were big fans of stuff like Working in a Coal Mine, you know, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles with James Jamerson on bass, like Tears of a Clown.
Mm-hmm.
So all that was being factored into this music we were writing. And I loved learning how to play Moog bass and what that was doing to the kind of songs we wrote, because I was interacting with Alan, and Alan was laying down more, you know, 2/4 funky dance beats, and we were very excited. That was it. You know, that nobody would expect this from DEVO. We were already doing this stuff, and that was the reason. That was the reason that we chose Bob Margolo. And it worked out because he, you know, he was the perfect guy to record music that was based on a more dry drum set with funky synthesizer lines and as on bass. What we would do every day then in 1979 in this rehearsal studio on Cole Street in Hollywood was share everything. Mark and I kept sketchbooks and lyric books. We were both artists. That's our background. And we would bring in and share anything we had come up with creatively. So we'd lay them out on a table, and anybody in the band could look at what we'd been trying to write or what we'd been thinking. And Mark at that time had set up a rudimentary recording system in his bedroom so that he could play sketches and riffs onto a cassette machine and then mix it down.
Mm-hmm.
So he would start bringing in things that we didn't create together in the Cole rehearsal hall for us to listen to if we liked something. And, you know, I would diligently listen to everything he brought in addition to him listening to everything that I would play in the studio, like here's an idea for a song here. And Whip It came about from 4 different cassette tapes at different times over a 2-week period. And they were each sketches that embody pieces of the composition that became Whip It, but they were in different BPMs, different instrumentation. And in fact, the chorus to Whip It was a piece he had done just with a keyboard running through some like harmonizer detuner. And it was in a different time signature than 2/4. But that's the part that became do-do-down, do-do, do-do-down, do-do. But it was going do-do-down, 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 do-do-down. It was almost just like abstract, you know, classical music meets Schoenberg or something. But, you know, there were things in each of them that I liked, and I started saying, why don't we combine these things over a central beat? Alan came up with what became the famous Whip It beat, which we thought at this time was just so cool and strange. We just loved it because, I mean, it didn't really sound like any other beat that anybody was doing, because it was kind of like jazz meets disco. And only Alan could do a beat like that because he came from a jazz background and he was a super accomplished drummer before DEVO. He had an amazing metronomic feel. That guy was the human metronome. Huh. So he laid down this beat, and we all liked it so much that then started putting the parts from these 4 different tapes together into one composition.
So he heard the pieces and then he created the beat.
I'm not sure Alan heard those pieces. He just created this beat. But once I heard it and Mark loved it, then it was like, let's use that beat to put these 4 pieces of music together like this, right? And I had these lyrics I had written already that for 6 months, I had no use for, because I thought, well, they're so strange, nobody's going to like them, and they're not rock and roll. And I wrote them only because I'd been reading Thomas Pynchon's book, Gravity's Rainbow. He created all these poems and limericks that were satires of American exceptionalism, like Horatio Alger, you're number one, you're special, it's only you, you can do it, you know. And it's this whole, you know, the whole propaganda of America that keeps people going in capitalism, right? And I thought they were so funny and so clever. You know, I'm laughing out loud alone in my bedroom reading this book.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to make one of those. I'm going to make a Thomas Pynchon kind of limerick. And I wrote Whip It, like in one night in my bedroom.
It just, so how does that come to you? Do you have a typical process when lyrics come to you, or no?
No. The main process was write them down now because you're going to forget them in the morning. You know, that was the truth. You come up with these brilliant ideas, and then you think there's no way you're going to forget that, and then you do. It's like a dream where you have this amazing, poignant dream, and it's so significant to you and so potentially life-changing. And then you wake up and you start getting interrupted by, you know, your housemate, your girlfriend, phone calls. 3 hours later, it was, what was that dream? And so much creativity is like a dream anyway, because you're best when you get past the effort, the conscious effort, you know, the kind of constipated, forced logic effort of coming up with something. That's not creativity. Creativity usually comes in an inspirative moment, like boom, you know, it's the light bulb. And so you better get it, some evidence of it, right? So anyway, when we started putting these pieces together and everybody loved this composition so much, we started wanting to play it together. I went back to the Whip It lyrics and, you know, showed Mark and showed him, you know, hey, I could sing this here, you know, and I could sing that there. And they just fit. Suddenly we had the right music for these lyrics that had no music previously. And the point of all this long drawn out story is that when you're a band that's collaborating freely, when there's no real hierarchical politics, and when you're sharing this information, great things can happen. That's when the best stuff gets made. And people are on the same page, so nobody's resisting going, wait a minute, well, I didn't write those lyrics, so we can't put them on there, right? And that's how the fact that if you look at the DEVO catalog of over 150 songs, 90% of them are 50-50 collaborations between Mark and I, because we worked well together, and almost without exception, the best songs were done that way.